Welcome, everyone. Hello. Thanks for taking the time to join us this evening for our second webinar on the Port Peninsula Integrated Master Plan. My name is Karen Andrade. I'm a communications specialist at the Port of Olympia, and I'll be helping facilitate the webinar today along with Emily Curtin, who'll be moderating the chat and our Q&A at the end of the webinar. First, we just have a couple of housekeeping items to go over with you. Then I'll give a quick overview of our webinar schedule and what to expect in our presentation. As far as housekeeping goes, the webinar is being recorded. A copy of the recording will be sent to participants after the meeting ends. We'll also add it to our master plan webpage, which Emily will share in the chat. It's portolympia.com/masterplan. If closed captions are desired, you may enable them by clicking the More Options setting along the top of your screen, or the bottom part of your screen is the three dots. As far as what to expect, our webinar will be 1 hour long. We'll have 3 presenters, followed by a Q&A session at the end. Although we'll be holding the questions until the end of the webinar, please feel free to submit your questions at any time throughout the presentation. We'll have several polls throughout the presentation as we wanted to take this time to learn more about you and, most importantly, give you a chance to weigh in and share your vision for the Port Peninsula. So let's get started now with introductions from our presenters, and then we'll drop our first poll into the chat.
Take it away, Tabor.
Perfect. Hello, my name is Tabor Lee, and I'm the Communications and Marketing Senior Manager here at the Port of Olympia. And before I share some insights around the port operations and our mission, vision, and goals, I'd like to begin with the purpose of ports in general.
And I'm Camille St. Ange. I'm the Director of Strategic Initiatives, and I'll be sharing more details about the master plan.
And I'm John Wolf. I'm the Environmental Manager, and I'll be talking about Bud Inlet.
Great, thank you. So let's take our first poll. So our first poll will appear on your screen just momentarily. It's just a couple of questions to ask you a little bit about yourself. 1 minute. Let's get this started. So you should see the poll now on your screen, and there are 2 questions. It looks like most of you have completed that poll, so we'll go ahead and close that out. Just a quick snapshot there of the results for you. If you haven't finished, feel free to go ahead and complete that. Great. Okay, so let's get started with our first presenter, Tabor Lee.
Yeah, thanks, Karen. Yeah, as I just mentioned, my name is Tabor Lee, and I'm the Communications and Marketing Senior Manager here at the Port of Olympia. I did say, but before I share some insights around the port operations and our mission, vision, and goals, I'd like to begin with the purpose of ports in general. The primary purpose of a port district in Washington State is economic development. The legislature has given ports authority to promote economic development. They can build and operate airports, marine terminals, marinas, railroads, and industrial parks, and in some cases, even promote tourism. Ports can help create jobs, promote trade, and improve quality of life in their communities. Ports can invest in land and capital facilities to create jobs that pay family wages. They can also help diversify the economies of cities and counties. Ports can clean up polluted properties and participate in environmental restoration projects. And the Washington State law directs public port districts to focus on these purposes, as well as efficient land use, industry growth, and recreation preservation. At the Port of Olympia, our mission, vision, and goals serve as our guiding principles. They align our team and operations, directing the organization toward our commitment to effectively serve the community. The port strives to balance policy and investment decisions on three core focus area objectives: creating economic opportunity, serving as an innovative environmental steward, providing and maintaining signature community assets. But we also operate under a core set of values, including running a sustainable organization, remaining innovative and taking risks, applying balanced decision-making given many varied interests and priorities, remaining engaged and accountable with and to the people and businesses we serve. So the Port of Olympia, a little bit about the business lines. We're a very balanced port that owns and operates 4 different business lines that serve all of Thurston County. The International Shipping Marine Terminal, in the bottom right corner of your slide. The Olympia Regional Airport, which is a general aviation use airport located in Tumwater. That's the picture on the left. Swantown Marina and Boat Works, photo in the upper left. And a diverse real estate portfolio with over 90 land leases, 105 tenants, and the largest public landowner in Thurston County with approximately 1,500 acres. But for today's Port Peninsula Integrated Master Planning Seminar, we'll be focusing on just 2 of the 4 business lines, Swantown Marina and Boat Works, and the Marine Terminal. So first we have Swantown Marina and Boat Works. Located along East Bay, the port has owned and operated the marina since 1987. As the 7th largest marina in the Washington state, it serves as a hub for recreational boating activities in the region, drawing enthusiasts from near and far to enjoy all that the Puget Sound has to offer. A little history about Swantown Marina. As you can see from this slide, the Port Peninsula has changed over the decades to support various economic opportunities. In 1979, the port began the future development of what was formerly known as East Bay Marina. The first phase of East Bay Marina was completed in 1982, and 54 acres of upland property was created from dredging materials from East Bay. The port began marina operations in 1987. Nearly a decade later, in 1996, East Bay Marina was rebranded to Swantown Marina in honor of an individual by the name of John Swan, one of Olympia's early pioneers that developed one of Olympia's first districts called Swan's Town in 1857. Now a little bit about the marina's operations. As stated earlier, Swantown is the 7th largest marina in the state of Washington, which equates to 650 slips and 70 liveaboards, providing thousands of people access to Puget Sound every year and continues to be recognized as a certified clean marina year over year. With the public boat launch, parks, and trails, Swantown also provides multiple access points to Olympia's beloved waterfront. The marina operates 7 days a week, 365 days a year, with a total of 13 full-time employees, 5 marina staff members, 4 boatyard staff members, and 4 maintenance team members. Swantown is home to the Harbor Patrol Volunteer Program that consists of 25 to 30 volunteers. Their support and mission of safe boating and education provide harbor security, search and rescue services to the South Puget Sound area. In 2017, the marina built a field dock to create an additional revenue stream and installed a double-walled 10,000-gallon gas tank and a 20,000-gallon diesel tank. Today, the Swantown Field Dock is the primary fueling station in the region with well over 3,000 transactions per year. A little bit about the Swantown Boat Works operations. An additional revenue generator and asset for Swantown Marina is the Swantown Boat Works operations. Boat owners can have their boats hauled out to be worked on. The Boat Works facility opened in 1999. This so-called DIY, do-it-yourself yard with hired services available sits on 2.7 acres that house 25 storage / workspaces. It has an 82-ton travel lift crane that hauls out an estimated 550 plus boats a year and is also recognized as a clean certified boat yard year over year. And lastly, we'll talk about International Marine Terminal. As the southernmost port on the Puget Sound, the 66-acre terminal is located to serve South Puget Sound and the Columbia River Basin, providing access to local, regional, and international markets. With proximity to rail, I-5, and airports, Olympia's terminal is an ideal location to handle any freight pull needs. Here's some additional information about the terminal that support our operations. We have 3 deep water berths with 1,750 linear feet, and the water depth is around 40 feet. The terminal has a direct discharge to rail on dock with Union Pacific. Our 76,000 square foot warehouse, which has 6 loading bays, is unique in the sense that its proximity to the edge of the dock is just 175 feet, ensuring fast and efficient cargo discharge. We are certified as a green marine with a state-of-the-art stormwater treatment facility. And to help guide our frequent vessel visitors, we have on-site tugs 24/7. As a breakbulk port, our terminal handles a diverse array of cargo, showcasing our versatility and capacity to meet various shipping needs. The range of products we receive includes logs, military equipment, corn, dairy cattle, which is interesting. It's being shipped to Vietnam as part of a national initiative to provide each child with a glass of milk daily, moving away from powdered milk. There's jasmine rice and paper pulp. In addition to these items, our terminal has also facilitated the shipping of heavy machinery, wind turbine blades, automobiles, locomotive engines, crushed granite, and limestone. This extensive variety underscores our commitment to supporting a wide range of industries and initiatives, both locally and globally. Thanks everyone for your time. Back to you, Karen.
Staber. Yes, now it's time for our second poll. This next question is to learn a little bit about what kinds of things and activities you enjoy currently doing at the port. So I'll go ahead and launch this poll and you'll see it momentarily on your screen. Okay, great. Looks like most of you have finished this poll, so I'll go ahead and close it out and share the results. Feel free to continue filling this out. Right. Okay, so let's move on to the next part of our presentation. Camille St. Ange with a presentation on the Integrated Master Plan.
Thank you, Karen. Appreciate that. Hello, everyone. My name is Camille St. Ange. I'm the Director of Strategic Initiatives and Commission Affairs for the Port of Olympia. I'm also the project manager for our master planning efforts here. And today I'm going to be sharing details about the master plan, and then I'll walk you through a schedule and how to get involved, and I'll keep you in the ways to keep you in the loop as we do moving to this planning effort. Before we get into those details, I want to really set the scene though. So this is a drone footage or picture of the Port Peninsula. Doesn't quite capture all of it, but it gives you a good idea of a bird's eye of what we're looking at and what the master plan is going to include. So this is a view from East Bay. And if you move across the image to the upper left, you'll see the Ranch Group building. That's where the farmers market is at. Right in the center is our warehouse at the marine terminal. And then those are the logs at the marine terminal. And you can see some stormwater ponds. And then off to the right is out where our marina is at. And I'm going to show you some images of that as well. But that's really just to get you centered on the area that's going to be examined. So our study area in the master plan is in the yellow bounding line there. And this is the area that's going to be included in our master planning effort. You'll see that there is a reddish orange line and it says transition area. And that's where we will transition into the city of Olympia. And we've called that out specifically because we want to note that partnering with the city of Olympia is going to be very important as we think about the future of the Port Peninsula and how these areas connect to each other. And we know for a long time there's been a need for more connection. So we just wanted to call that out, that that's definitely something that we'll be keeping in mind as we do our planning. So I want to talk to you about some driving forces in the master planning effort. So Vision 2050 included a significant amount of community effort, about upwards of 18 months of community visioning, workshops, surveys, participation in an advisory committee. And the members of Vision 2050 have shared with us that, yes, please use this as your guiding document. And one of the action items that came out of Vision 2050 was to create a master plan for the marine terminal. And we'll be talking about that more specifically in just another slide, but wanted to call out that Vision 2050 is definitely a driving force in our work here today as we master plan. Another driving force is Bud Inlet cleanup. So in 2022, the port's efforts to advance cleanup of Bud Inlet really were invigorated. And at that time, it was always envisioned that an entire evaluation of the Port Peninsula properties would be included in Bud Inlet cleanup. And that is a very common practice of ports, not only here in the Puget Sound, but around the United States, is that when you have an active cleanup site, that you can leverage dollars to investments to create and improve the area for your community. Also included as a driving force is Destination Waterfront. So Destination Waterfront was another effort of the port to be more specific about the land use along the East Bay and how to develop that into an area that would serve the community. And then last, but certainly not least, but sea level rise is a huge consideration in this work. The City of Olympia, the port, and LOT are all partnering together to think about how sea level rise is going to affect the land mass here and the preparation for the, sea level rise. So if you're asking, why are we taking this endeavor on now? So as Tabor mentioned earlier, that the ports were uniquely created for economic development. And as we are working on Bud Inlet cleanup, we need to be thinking about if there's ways that we can help improve our economy. Also, can we enhance the profitability of our business lines and incorporate all of that with environmental stewardship and thinking about our community assets. Another component of what's a driving force in this is the Deschutes Estuary Restoration Project. So the bridge is planned to come out around 2033, and their project is dependent upon any needed dredging that needs to take place in West Bay. And so we're working to meet that schedule and get our work completed and think about what the master planning effort will look like. Because if we are going to dredge, if we are going to make improvements, then we need to be thinking about the timing and how that other project will be affected. Sea level rise, as I mentioned, is a consideration, and LOT definitely needs to be protected. And all of these different elements are certainly under consideration and need to be taken into account now. And then also federal funding is part of the timing on this as well. We're in a unique time where the bipartisan infrastructure law, it has a number of dollars available for infrastructure improvements. And we have a significant amount of infrastructure that is at risk because of sea level rise. And so having a plan that could put us in a position to qualify for federal funding is a part of our strategy. So this is probably the information you're more interested in, and that's what will be included in the master plan. And I want to talk about the evaluations of the marine terminal. So for many years, a number of our community members have asked us to think about the future of the marine terminal. What's the profitability of it, the long-term use? And so we'll be taking a look at that. We'll do that through a market analysis. We'll also analyze the regional economic impacts coming out of the marine terminal as it exists today, and then potential options of what it could look like in the future. What is the footprint going to look like? How could we change it to make it more profitable? Should it stay the same size? Should it have a smaller footprint or something in between? So all of those things will be taken into consideration. We'll look at the probable costs to make any changes and what kind of grants we might be available to apply for. And then, really scope the land use options and economic impacts of any changes that we might make. Another part of our master plan is taking a look and evaluating Swantown and Boatworks. So similar to the marine terminal, we'll do a market analysis, and what are the economic impacts? If we were to have to pull up the slips to do any dredging underneath the slips for cleanup and removing of sediment as part of the Bud Inlet cleanup plan, is what could we do to reconfigure those to maybe increase our the number of boats that are filling our slips and reduce the vacancy rate? Could we attract different types of boat owners there that might have a higher profitability on the slip size? And it is a consideration because these slips eventually will need to be replaced as they age out. And it's an opportunity for us to consider maybe removing the creosote and putting in more environmentally friendly slips. Another part of the master planning efforts is the open space, parks, and amenities that we can provide to the community. So Bud Inlet is really, it's an epic area. It's beautiful, and anyone who has been there is really awestruck. And is there a way that we can enhance the North Point or other parts of the peninsula to create public amenities? We'll do a site evaluation as part of the planning to assess where the best place and opportunities for parks and open spaces might be. And then provide a layout and cost estimates to incorporate something, that we plan for, keeping in mind that we need to have business lines that are profitable that can help pay for or entirely pay for these amenities along with grants we might be eligible for. So as the name says in this project, it's the Port Peninsula Integrated Master Plan. So we will be taking a look at what the community asked for us to consider in Vision 2050, destination waterfront, considerations for Bud Inlet, the future use of the marine terminal, Swantown, parks and open space and sea level rise, and integrating them all into one upland master plan and with options, what that might look like. It'll include new and redevelopment and what we can envision and what the community would like us to envision, sustainability for resilience to sea level rise and ongoing environmental stewardship, any economic or business development opportunities for our community, for local business owners, parks and recreation plan, and then placemaking considerations. And if you're not familiar with that term placemaking, really it's a people-centered approach in making places really meant for people to be in a space, either families or individuals, and creating places you want to be, whether that's mixed use spaces, recreation, arts and culture. So all of that will be taken into consideration. In line with our values that Tabor brought forward earlier, talking about environmental stewardship, So part of this project, what we will do is we will take the master plan once it's complete, and we will combine it with a planned action EIS. And so that planned action environmental impact statement will evaluate any cumulative environmental impacts of any proposed projects that come forward in the master plan. And this ensures that our plan aligns with the city ordinances and comprehensive plans. And it also includes a full SEPA review. And if you're not familiar with SEPA, that is the State Environmental Policy Act. And there'll be preparation of environmental impacts documents that come out of that. So this upfront analysis really creates it takes into the account any impacts and mitigates any measure as a foundational part of our planning. So here's the schedule of our work. And what you see here is, and we're in the very early stages of this, fall and winter of 2024. We're holding educational opportunities. So this evening's webinar really is educational, following best practices with the International Association of Public Participation. And we'll also be collecting information that gives us an idea about the people who are interested in this project and your hopes and desires for the area. Started in our webinars. We just did some easy polls for you to weigh in. And then we'll also have a survey in the coming weeks, probably middle of November-ish or a little later than that. When we share chapters next year of the master plan, we're going to ask the community to weigh in and give public comment on that. We've created an advisory committee, and that advisory committee has a number of community leaders, subject matter experts, and people who have expertise in the region, and will share their guide and ideas and help us evaluate the scope and the preparation for the chapters and advise our commission. Once we have completed all of that work, we anticipate that either early summer or at the latest in the fall of 2025, we would be sharing the final draft of the master plan. If you want to get involved in the future, today you did step one is you attended an informational webinar. Many of you have also joined our tours that we have been holding throughout this late summer and early fall. You can participate in our survey that comes out in the coming weeks. We hope that you will join us and collaborate and share feedback at a workshop and an open house, and those will happen later in our process. And then lastly, weigh in on the draft plan that we prepare. Tell us what you think. So those are a number of ways you can get involved. All right, back to you, Karen.
Thanks, Camille. Okay, it's time for another poll. This next question is asking you what you envision for the future of the port. So I'll go ahead and launch that on your screen now.
This one's a little longer poll. It might take you a moment to think about those answers. Yeah, we really appreciate everybody participating in these polls this evening and joining our webinar. It's good to see members around the community connecting to our project.
Yes, definitely. Well, it looks like most of you have finished this poll, and it's great to see that the overwhelming majority of you place a lot of value on environmental stewardship, which leads us to our next presentation from John Wolf. Let me go ahead and just share the results so far of this poll so you can kind of see where everyone is at in terms of what's important to them. Okay, so I'll go ahead and pass this over to John.
Good evening. I am John Wolf, the Environmental Manager for the Port of Olympia. And one of my roles is to oversee the Bud Inlet Cleanup Project. This is a picture of the Port of Olympia in the late 1940s. You can see in the foreground, there's a bunch of logs soaking up salt water. You see a number of petroleum storage facilities. And right in the center, you can see a veneer plant and its associated smokestack that is burning salt-infused hog fuel. To give you a reference, this building is currently the wine loft. This is the location of the Port of Olympia building. So we'll fast forward to today, and you can see that the port is very much a different place. The polluting industry is gone, but the pollution remains. This is results from the poll we did on August 28 at our webinar. Ignore the numbers, those are just for relative importance. And the question was, which environmental issues are most important to you in relation to the Bud Inlet cleanup? And it came back that preparation for future development, increased salmon to the Deschutes, shoreline restoration, protecting infrastructure from sea level rise were very important. And then during the destination waterfront survey, we asked which shoreline improvement options do you prefer? And overwhelmingly, people wanted a living shoreline. So this indicates to us that preparation for future development using living shorelines to prevent and protect against sea level rise is very important to the community. The port has an agreed order with ecology. This is a legally binding agreement with ecology to follow their MOTCA cleanup process. It's the Model Toxics Control Act. We are required to determine the depth and breadth of contamination in the sediment and then come up with a design for cleaning up that sediment. We are at stage 3, which is essentially the science stage. The scientists will then use that science to inform the engineering and design of a cleanup project. Okay, so back in winter, late 2023, early 2024, we worked in East Bay of Bud Inlet, that is sub-area 1. We sampled at about 100 locations. The results are nearly complete, and we are now planning for sediment sampling in West Bay, which is known as sub-area 2, this winter. We have submitted the data gaps memo, draft memo to ecology and received their input on that. And we've also submitted a map of potential sampling locations in West Bay. And we're just waiting for input on that. And then in the winter of 2026, we hope to do the same thing and sample sub-area 3, which is the area roughly from Squaxin Park north to its as yet undefined northern boundary. We are aware and know about ongoing pollution, including stormwater, nutrient pollution like nitrogen and fecal coliform. But this particular project is looking at legacy contamination from the polluting industry that includes dioxins furans, which comes from the burning of salt-infused wood, polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbons, which is petroleum products, heavy metals, and pentachlorophenol, which is a chemical used to treat wood, specifically for pilings. Now, we get asked a lot about dissolved oxygen. That is a water quality issue. Hypoxia equals low dissolved oxygen, and that is a water quality issue. That's not what this particular project is looking at, but it is an issue that affects Bud Inlet. Bud Inlet is naturally low in dissolved oxygen because of naturally occurring limited circulation patterns that trap water. For instance, in East Bay, the tide comes in and out and moves that same water back and forth, but doesn't really get a chance to flush. A healthy dissolved oxygen is somewhere around 7 milligrams per liter. When you get down to 4, you start seeing stress in the marine animals and can even start seeing mortality. Capitol Lake is the overwhelming driver of low oxygen in Bud Inlet, contributing to as much as a 3 milligram per liter of depletion. So if Bud Inlet is naturally low in dissolved oxygen, maybe around 5 or 6, you can see how Capitol Lake alone is contributing to stress and the hypoxia. So any other small inputs would have an impact. Luckily, the Department of Enterprise Services, the State Department, is working to correct this issue by restoring the estuary and removing the Fifth Avenue Dam. And for those interested, that 3 milligrams per liter comes from a 2022 report done by the Washington Department of Ecology. As I stated, we are in what I call the science phase of this project. We will eventually get to the design of a cleanup plan. That could include dredging and the option for beneficial reuse, such as sea level rise mitigation. Capping or monitored enhanced natural recovery, that's where we would go out and put a layer of clean sediment on top of the polluted sediment and then let Mother Nature take her course. And then if sediments are clean, in-water sites do exist. The estimated project timeline, we are in phase 1, which is the remedy selection, design, and permitting of the project. We are currently sediment sampling. We hope to be into East Bay for cleanup probably in 2028. 2027 may not be as likely as we hope, so probably 2028, followed by cleanup of West Bay, followed by the cleanup of the areas to the north, all in preparation for the dam removal of the Fifth Avenue dam removal, which we anticipate happening sometime in the mid-2030s. During that time, we will be looking to secure funding for both the design and the construction being the cleanup. I would encourage you to go to portofolympia.com Bud Inlet. It's a great webpage. It's got a lot of good information, including a really cool video. If you have any questions, excuse me, please contact me directly at budinlet.com, Port of Olympia. Anytime, I'm really happy to answer any questions you might have. So thank you very much.
Thank you, John. So now it's time for our final poll, which ties into John's presentation on the Bud Inlet. This question will ask you what environmental issues and topics are important to you. So let's go ahead and get that started. You should see it on your screen now. This one takes a little more thinking, so feel free to take your time. Looks like a little bit more than half of you have finished. Feel free to continue thinking on that one and completing the poll. I'll go ahead and share the results so far. Great. Really good information. Thank you so much for filling that out. So that concludes our presentation portion, and we can move on to the Q&A. If you haven't submitted a question yet, please feel free to do so in the Q&A. And we'll go ahead and go through. Emily Burton will go ahead and read our first question momentarily. It looks like we have a couple comments in there. Thank you so much for submitting your feedback. We'll definitely share those with the rest of the team. If you have any questions at all related to the master plan, we're happy to answer those now. Emil and Tabor and John are happy to answer any questions that may have come up that you may have.
And you can always submit questions if you go to our webpage at portolympia.com/masterplan. We have our master plan email address, and you can submit questions to us if you think of them later.
Definitely, yes. You can always email them to us anytime.
All right.
If there are no questions, or did you get one? Okay, Emily's going to go ahead and read a question. What will happen to the KGY building?
Well, so the master plan really isn't looking at any one specific building in that sense. It looks at the land use plan for an area. So once the master plan is complete and we have finalized how to use that the land use area on East Bay, then we'll see what happens there. KGY, for I guess there are people who are on the call who might not know what KGY is. KGY is a local radio station, and they lease the land from us and have a built space building out that's out over the water next to Hearthfire, and they are going to be vacating that property. So, yeah. So I can't say specifically what will happen to that building. What we are doing is we're planning for an entire integrated plan that includes destination waterfront land use planning on East Bay, an evaluation of the marina, the marine terminal, and the future land use of our property here on the Port Peninsula.
Thank you, Camille.
Great.
We have another question. How can we propose new uses for port properties?
Oh, if it's for the master plan, you're more than welcome to email us at, I can't remember the email.
Masterplan@portolympia.com.
Okay, masterplan@portolympia.com.
Emily put that in the chat earlier.
Oh, great.
On. Yes.
Oh, yeah, and I can't see that. So yes, so you can email us there. And then also, I really encourage you as we have a workshop and an open house to participate, because that will be an opportunity to share ideas and to give feedback. And then when we have a draft plan, you can also weigh in on that. So the upfront time is in a survey that we launch, at a workshop, or an open house. And then we do encourage you, even beyond that, to comment on the plan once it's been drafted. Yeah, thank you.
Camille, will the plan support the needs of all the businesses along the waterfront, or only those that are on port property?
So we're only taking a look at port property is the land use planning that we're working on. So we aren't planning for other property owners.
Thank you. Who is paying for the master plan?
So the Port of Olympia is paying for the master plan.
Right. How will the industrial history of the Port Peninsula be preserved in the master plan?
That's a really good question. We haven't developed that chapter of the master plan, but we're right now in the process of scoping and planning all of the different chapters that will be included And we haven't determined that yet. So yeah, when we get to the time when we ask questions in our survey, I encourage whoever that is to, stay in tune with us and answer, give us information in the survey, and that will help us too on any ideas you might have. Yeah, I love all the questions. This is great.
We've had a few questions of people asking what the demographic is like those that are interested in the master plan.
Oh, I don't have the results of that poll right in front of me, and but we are looking to really get far and wide reach throughout the county. For example, we attended a real estate forum recently and shared information about the master plan and the opportunity to take this poll with folks who attended that. We're also looking for folks around the entire county to meet with us. And for example, we might meet with the South Sound Sailing Society, or maybe the Audubon, or other groups that are interested that we want to hear from, so we can reach as many different demographics as possible.
There be opportunities for the public to get on the water through the master plan and actually access the waterfront through the master plan?
There's on the water, and there's, we could do walking tours. So one of the things that we have discussed is putting together walkabouts in the spring. So you might have the opportunity to do a walkabout with us through the destination waterfront area. We did offer several tours in August, and then we had a tour in September and October where people came out to the marine terminal and were able to visit that. And those will start up again in the spring. Tabor, when do the tours start up Emily actually runs our tours. When do they start again, Emily?
In March of 2025.
Okay.
Spring.
All right. Yes. So we don't have tours usually during it is a walking tour, so we don't usually host those during the rainy months here, but those will begin again in March, and you can attend that. And me and the environmental department, John, you might know that maybe Sean shared with you that we talked about doing walkabouts on East Bay and just getting folks out there maybe on a sunny spring day.
That'd be fun.
Yeah.
Are there any opportunities for the public to be involved in the Butt Inlet cleanup project?
Well, I would think the best way would be through the master planning process, is to submit comments and concerns you have about that. We do also offer presentations similar to this to different groups. We've done the Rotary, again, the South Sound Sailing Society. So I would say those are the best ways to become involved. And the best of those is through this master planning process.
Yeah, thanks, John. And if I can expand on that a little bit. So Butt Inlet is one of the major considerations in our master planning efforts. And so as we develop a chapter around the environmental issues related to Butt Inlet and to sea level rise and things that have to be evaluated, like placement of any sediment that may need to be removed from Butt Inlet, there's opportunity to weigh in on that content. And through our surveys, the one that will come out in November, I highly encourage you to take that, and we'll include information about Butt Inlet in that survey. And so that will be a way to share your voice.
Is there a sea level rise plan for the Port Peninsula.
Yes, the port is part of a collaborative with LOT, City of Olympia. And we do have a plan, a sea level rise plan in place already. We've implemented a number of the short-term recommendations. And we're actually looking at applying for a grant to start working on some of the midterm projects that are outlined in that plan.
John, what's the name of that group?
The Sea Level Rise Collaborative, I think,
Yes.
yes,
Yeah,
that's
the
the
sea level-
official name, yeah.
Yeah, and they have a City of Olympia hosts a webpage on the Sea Level Rise Collaborative. And so if you go to the Sea Level Rise Collaborative, you just type that in any of your search engines. It comes up usually straight at the top, and then you can get information about those plans there. All right, well, I don't think we have, Emily's signaling that we don't have any other questions. Really, thank you so much for attending. We appreciate you coming to this webinar, learning about the master plan, some history of the port and our business lines that will be evaluated. And thank you, John, for sharing all that information about Bud Inlet. Please subscribe to our email list and visit our website.
Do you want to go to the next slide, Camille? We'll have the
Oh yeah, there we go.
addresses. There you go.
Yeah, so masterplan@olympia.com is our email. And then you can visit our master plan page, bookmark it. That's where we'll be sharing information as we advance through the project. We are just in the early stages and we're just doing education right now today, and a little bit of input. Thank you for taking the time to answer our poll questions. And we look forward to hearing from you in the coming weeks when we launch our first survey. So thank you so much, and have a good evening, everyone. Bye.